Now I am going to show you how to create helper functions. In order to create the helper function, first I am going to my app, then HTTP, and in this location, for example, I am going to create a helper function. That means I am going to create a helper PHP file. Okay, so here I am going to create new file, and here I am going to give it a name that is, for example, helpers.php. So here I will write my code, but before going to write this code, I am going to do one thing, that is I am going to open my composer.json. In the composer.json you will see that there is a autoload. So here you see that this is a autoload, and in the autoload here I am going to create an entry, for example here files, and here I am going to give a bracket, and then here I will tell the location where I created the helper PHP file. I created the helper PHP file into app HTTP in this location. So here I will write app, then HTTP, and then I will write helpers.php. So I just add this one here under the autoload. So what will be happen? Now into my helpers.php I can write some functions, and this function I can use throughout the application. For example, here I create a function my country like this. For example, I just create here a function and I am going to return Bangladesh like this. Okay, so this is a function that I create into the helpers.php file. Now I am going, for example, to create a controller, php artisan make controller test controller. So controller is created into here, so I am going to open it, and here I am going to create public function index this function, and here I will write my code. I am going to call this controller from the routes, that is my main route, and here I am going to give test controller class. A function name is index function, and in the top I am going to call use app http controllers, and there will be my test controller. So in this case, into the index function, what I can do, I can straight any function that I define into the helpers.php, I can straight call this function. For example, here I call echo my country. What will be happen? This function will return this one, that means this text it will return, and that I will echo as here in the output. So here I am going to run my application now. Enter. You see that call to undefined function my country into the controllers it is showing. So here remember that I added some lines into the composer.json. So in the terminal I am going to run a command, that is composer dump autoload, this command. So the task is completed. Actually this composer dump autoload, what I write, that is here composer dump autoload. It is actually used in the PHP development with the composer package manager. What it actually does here, it regenerates the composer's autoloader files. You see that into here composer.json I wrote my code under the autoload. So what actually composer dump autoload does, it regenerates these autoloader files based on the current dependencies in my composer.json, that means here. So it actually reads this file. When actually I will run this composer dump autoload, it just start to read the composer.json file, and it rebuilds the autoloading files from the beginning. So for this reason I just use the composer dump autoload. Now let's check if it is working or not. Yes, it is showing that the country name is in my output. Now what I can do here, I can create a function, for example some calculation you can do. For example calculate. In the calculate function I will pass a parameter, for example marks, a student mark I will pass using the calculate function, and here what I will do, I will just calculate, or I will just give the in the output that if this student failed or passed. So in that case I can call like this: if marks is less than 33, like this, then you can return something like a result. Here I am going to do one thing, that is, or here I am not return result, here I am going to call it here, and here I am going to call a variable here, that is the result, and this is this student failed. And if I give else, that means if the mark is greater than 33, I will just put another text here, that is this student passed, like this. Finally I will return the value of the result. So here in the text controller, here if I want that, I will call the function calculate, and here I will pass, for example, a marks that is 78. Now if I go here, run it, you see that the student passed. Here I can also show that like this: the student failed, mark is, I concat the string, mark is marks, and this student failed. So this one I am going to copy here. So mark is this and student passed. So here if I refresh, you see that mark is 78 and this student passed. Now if I give here another value, for example below 33, I give here 20 now. So here if I refresh, you see that mark is 20 and this student failed. That means this helper function that I defined here, calculate, this is called and it is working perfectly using the controller. That means in the controller you can easily call this function. You do not declare anything here, just call this function that you write into the helpers.php, and for all the controllers in all the cases of your application it will work. So I hope you have understood how to work with the helper functions.